Welcome to your House chamber and welcome to this morning's SNILD JGO committee meeting dated Thursday, April 9, 2026. It is now 10:07. We apologize for the few minutes. Before we call this meeting to order, I'd just like to recognize the individuals that will be assisting in this committee meeting. We have our legislative assistant, Nick Ribalaman, our legal counsel, Carrie Comstock. We have Sergeant at Arms Pete Tawai and IT Jonathan Diaz. I now call this SNILD JGO committee meeting to order. And I now recognize LA Nick Ribalaman to please call the roll.
Senator Corina L. Magofnia. Representative Marissa R. Flores.
Present.
Representative Diego Vincent F. Camacho.
Present.
Representative Daniel I. Aquino. Representative Vincent R. Aldon. Vice Chairman Senator Manny T. Castro.
Stiga.
Chairman Representative Edmund S. Villagomez.
Present.
Chairman, at the moment we have 4 members present and 3 absent.
Thank you, Nick. Please let the record reflect that Senator Corina Magofnia and Representatives Danny Aquino and Vincent S. Aldon are hereby excused for today's committee meeting. Also in attendance, not a member, but a member of the House, our JGO chairman on the House level, Representative Joel Camacho. Before we proceed to public comments, I'd like to request that we get a motion to amend today's agenda to include communications coming from the Governor's Office and the chairman of SNILD. Okay, there's a motion and it has been seconded. Any discussions? Ready? All in favor for the motion, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries. Thank you. And these communications are Governor's Communication number 24-37 and Delegate Matters number 24-85, 2486, and 2487 as it pertains to the appointees and nominees that we are going to be discussing in today's agenda. We will now proceed to public comments and the podium is open. You'll be given 5 minutes. Please state the name and the entity you represent and please try to keep your comments as it relates to today's agenda. And if you need more time to share your public comments, we can also accommodate that. So the podium is open.
Buenos dias. Good morning, and tiro, Mr. Chairman, and member of this Judicial and Governmental Investigation Committee. My name is Ramon R.B. Blas Camacho. I'm here in my official capacity as your mayor for this municipality. Mr. Chairman and member of this committee, I'm here before you to humbly and respectfully seek your utmost consideration and support for the 3 nominees. Number 1, the mayor's communication. The nominee, I appoint Mr. William Albert Torres to serve on the Saipan Higher Education Financial Assistant. Mr. Chairman and committee, I have big confidence on Mr. Torres. He's highly qualified to occupy this position. As we all know that we are facing this financial crisis in the Sinamay. And the point here is the appointment of these 3 individuals, the governor's communication for Nicholas, Cameron Nicholas, and Richard Villagomez Salas. The point here is the willingness to occupy this position. You know, we're all struggling, but they're willing to contribute their knowledge, their time and effort, you know, to see how and to navigate this ship on that respective section that they're going to occupy. Mr. Chairman, the Shefa William is one of the recipient of the Shefa. And he understands, he has seen it, the CEFA, the needs of our students, as we all continue to encourage our young generation to further their education. And here, with his background, and he's been a recipient of the CEFA, he can contribute all these things with this limited financial that we are facing here in Sinamay. Richard Salas also, I've known this individual. It's a very persistent guy. He's not that really a mouthy guy, but he's very intelligent individual. I've worked with this guy during his time as a CRM director, and I've known this individual, and this is considered an asset to these agencies. Also, Cameron, I've known this. It's a reflection of their parents, all the three brothers. They're known in the community. So I think we have a good candidate to occupy this vacant position. And it's your hand, committee of this JGO, to make this thing happen, to confirm them to occupy this position. Undangkulan na si Jesus Mosi.
Thank you, Mayor Arby. The podium is still open.
Test. Good morning, Chairman and esteemed members of this body. My name is BJ Nicholas, and I'm here in a personal capacity from the village of Ilizang, based on the 2020 census. So I wanted to express my deep appreciation to the committee for entertaining the nominations today. I'm in full support of Mr. Torres, Mr. Salas, Mr. Sablan, and of course my brother, Mr. Nicholas. Just to share a little bit more on Cameron, there are 4 areas that I wanted to touch on, well, 5 actually. Let me start by saying Cameron in our family is known as Mr. Reliable. Anytime we need something, anytime the family has things going on, we know that we can call Cameron. And of course, whether he likes it or not, he'll most definitely get it done. So very much appreciative of that, Cam. Wanted to also touch base a little bit more on some things that I believe are very necessary, especially when zoning is being spoken about and land use is a very big concern for the island of Saipan. Cameron possesses a commitment to fair land use, being able to balance diverse interests. He also has a deep respect for our local resources and an appreciation to preserve the natural and historic resources for future generations. He also has a commitment to transparency and have no doubt that he'll be able to engage our community in being able to discuss the matters and issues that are put forth before the zoning board. And lastly, I wanted to also mention that Cameron is also a practical individual, his practicality and his accountability. He does possess the ability to make sound judgment and is very responsive to the changing environments that are currently facing our Commonwealth. So I appreciate again the opportunity to provide a brief comment and look forward and hope that this body would be able to allow his nomination and the nominations of everyone here today to be put forth before the official SNILD committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nicholas. The podium is still open. Brandon, you want to top that? I'm just kidding. No, the podium is open.
Good morning, Chairman Villagomez, Vice Chair Castro, and honorable members of this distinguished committee. My name is Elizabeth Emma Cabrera Itzabus, and I currently serve as a staff pharmacist at the CHCC Outpatient Pharmacy. I also currently sit on the board of the CNMI Scholarship and Financial Aid Office. However, today, I am appearing before you in my personal capacity as a resident and proud daughter of the CNMI, as well as on behalf of my family, my father Pete, who's sitting back here, my mother Bernie, and my sister Mona, in strong support of the nomination of Mr. Richard V. Salas to the CNMI Zoning Board. In preparation for this hearing, I requested that Mr. Salas send me a copy of his resume so I could craft a strong statement of support on his behalf. Initially, my plan was to highlight the many accomplishments, both personal and professional. But as I reviewed his resume, it occurred to me that the distinguished members of this committee have likely already examined his impressive qualifications. So rather than reiterate what you already know about Mr. Salas's professional achievements, I would like to offer you a glimpse of who he is as a person. For the past 36 years, I've had the privilege of calling Rich my brother. And I'm sure if I looked hard enough, I could find a quote that says, "The best way to truly understand someone is to ask their sibling." I think most of us with siblings would agree there's a lot of truth in that. Siblings are unique in that we can be each other's biggest supporters and at times harshest critics. With that in mind, I'd like to share a few sibling truths about Mr. Salas, Rich, that you might not find on his resume. For those who know Rich, we can all agree he's a man of few words. That's not because he has nothing to say, but because he listens. He absorbs, he reflects, and then speaks with intention. There is real strength in staying quiet amid chaos or heated conversation. It's easy to say the first thing that comes to mind. The challenge is to truly hear every perspective and form a thoughtful, introspective response. As Aristotle said, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and that feels fitting for Rich. His perspectives are shaped by everything he takes in, not just a single moment. This ability to listen deeply and respond thoughtfully will be an invaluable asset to the CNMI Zoning Board. His steady, reflective nature carries into high-pressure situations, whether competing in demanding VAA races or navigating complex challenges. Rich remains calm, focused, and composed. His experience in VAA has also shaped him into a true team player, someone who can step up as a leader when needed or serve as a reliable source of support, always prioritizing the strength and success of the group as a whole. I can say with confidence that Rich brings a deep understanding of our local needs and values. How do I know? Rich and I have been each other's sounding board for as long as we could talk. Whether it was a conversation about my professional or personal life, I can safely say that Rich's opinion is one I deeply value, not just because he's my brother, but because of his ability to be honest, thoughtful, and inquisitive. These are the very qualities that will make him an invaluable asset to the CNMI Zoning Board. Rich's approach to problem solving and decision making embodies the spirit of what the board represents, an unwavering commitment to fairness, transparency, and the long-term well-being of our community. Distinguished members of this committee, given Mr. Salas's exemplary professional and personal qualities, I firmly believe he is an outstanding candidate for the CNMI Zoning Board. I urge this committee to approve his nomination, as he will bring with him the core values we seek in our board members: humility, fairness, integrity, and a deep understanding of our community's needs. With Rich on the board, I'm confident that the CNMI will benefit from his steady leadership, thoughtful decision-making, and unwavering commitment to the well-being of all residents. I'd like to end my statement with this. Rich, I have no doubt you will bring a unique and invaluable perspective to the CNMI Zoning Board. You carry within you the quiet strength and resilience of Mam Salas, the humility and steady presence of Tang Salas, the gentle spirit of Mam Beck, and the remarkable qualities of Tang Charlie. These influences, shaped by the love and wisdom of our family, will guide you in your role, and I know you will approach every decision with the same care, integrity, and thoughtfulness that have always defined you. Congratulations, and we are all incredibly proud of you and all you have done and have yet to do. On a side note, I didn't realize who else would be the other nominees today, but I want to strongly throw my support for the other nominees, Mr. Torres, Mr. Nicholas, and Mr. Sablan. I think they will all be valuable assets to the boards that they will represent in the CNMI. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tibus. The podium's still open.
Muito tao. Good morning. My name is Brian Sears Nicholas. I happen to be Cam's dad, but I'm here as a member of this beautiful Commonwealth to testify to all the nominees before you. You guys know them very well. They have their papers before you, so I'm not going to dwell on their expertise. And I just want to share a couple of things. One of the things that I teach my sons is there's a reason why you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You listen twice and you speak once. Cam knows that very well, and also, interestingly enough, Mr. Sablan is my cuñado, Mr. Salas is my son, Mr. Torres is my son, becoming a family affair. I have been in this Commonwealth for roughly 37 years. Many times I've wanted to appear before this body and this and that, because I have plenty of things I want to say, simply because of my love. I am a guest in this beautiful Commonwealth. My wife is sitting there, Victoria. Sometimes I feel sorry for her because instead of testifying before you, I testify before her. I recognize who I am. I leave issues to the capable hands of our citizens, tomorrow's and to follow us. But let me end by, again, recognizing 2 things. I commend the governor for nominating these young men, to include my kunya, Mr. Sablan. As far as I'm concerned, he's still young. It's high time, and with all, I say this as a God-fearing Commonwealth guest. High time we include our kids, our young citizens in the leadership of this beautiful Commonwealth. It's high time. And now let me close with a story. Because Mr. Torres will be in the board educating our kids. My kunya, Mr. Sablan, Cam, my son, and my son, Mr. Salas, will be sitting at the zoning board protecting this beautiful Commonwealth. So, a non-CNMI descent got stuck in Guam and found out that you can still sail using the stars, the waves, and the wind. I love this story. Every time I get a chance, I say it. But he didn't believe it. So he demanded to be proven wrong. So they brought him an old man from Satawal. And while I'm sharing this story, there's a canoe that's heading from Taiwan to Okinawa. A little bit worried because of the storm, but I'm pretty good. They'll be fine. In about a month, they'll join us on their way home to Palau. So they brought him this old man from the village, Guam. So he was told not to look at maps, compasses, that sort of stuff. You need to locate your place in this beautiful ocean. As if the old man knew what these documents and instruments were. And he was told, take me to Satawal. So they left. 7 days later, early morning hours. Long story short, the old man who just stayed in front of the yacht came in to wake up this non-CNMI descent. I'm being politically correct, no? So, Satawal, they saw this island coming. So he looked at him, looked at this island in the horizon, opened his maps, everything, and sure enough, Satawal. So he ran to the old man at the front and asked him, old man, how did you know Satawal was here? Several times. In between his chewing his betel nut, and in his broken English, he told this non-CNMI descent, but sir, Satawal was always here. I say that because these nominees will preserve the CNMI, educating our kids, making decisions affecting the land use in this beautiful Commonwealth, and so on. Yes, CNMI will always be here. Sulang, thank you so much.
Sulang, and thank you, Mr. Sir Nicholas. Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, a member of this committee, I want to apologize, Mr. Steve Sablan. Since you're there on the very bottom,
He was always there, Mr. Mayor.
I know. I want to apologize on that, and I've learned that from my old friend, Brian Nicholas, Steve. I apologize again, Mr. Chairman, a member of this committee. I'm in full support of Steve's reappointment. Steve has been sitting in the zoning board, and we came across with a lot of issues as a mayor, and he's an open-minded person. So again, I humbly seek your arm's consideration to confirm all these nominees. Jesus Masi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The podium is still open.
Buenos dias, Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the committee. My name is Steve Jiang. I'm currently a member of the zoning board. I have lived in Saipan for over 30 years, doing businesses for most of my time. Today, I'm very pleased to share my strong support for these three highly qualified individuals to serve at the zoning board. Mr. Steve Sablan, Cameron Nicholas, and Mr. Richard Salas. Each of them brings a strong commitment to fair, responsible, and use of the community planning. Mr. Steve Sablan offers sound judgment and deep local knowledge. Mr. Cameron Nicholas provides a thoughtful, analytical approach to zoning matters. And Mr. Salas, Richard Salas, contributes practical experience and a dedication to balanced development. Together, they will serve with the integrity, listen to the residents and businesses alike, and help guide decisions that respect both growth and the quality of life on Saipan. I respectfully ask for your confirmation of these three individuals. Sidus Masi, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Jiang. The podium is still open. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I apologize. I'd like to also congratulate the Schaefer nominees.
Thank you. All right, the podium is still open.
Good morning, half a day. Santiro, Honorable Chair Mafnas Villagomez, and Vice Chair Manny S. Castro, and honorable members of the Saipan Northern Islands Legislative Delegations Committee on Judicial and Government Operations. I'd like to take this opportunity. My name is Jean Paul B. Regis, the Special Assistant for the Administration, and I'd like to take this opportunity to, in support of the Chairman of the Saipan Northern Marianas Islands Delegation, the Chair John Paul Sablan, for nominating and the reappointment of Mr. Stephen Sablan and Cameron and Richard Salas. And I'd like to just to give a brief summary of the individuals. Mr. Cameron S. Nicholas is a highly distinguished public servant with over a decade of experience across the legislative, executive, and legal branches of the CNMI government. Currently serving as the he was serving as a House Fiscal Analyst for the CNMI legislature. He played a critical role for the Commonwealth's annual budget, provides essential financial guidance to the leadership. His extensive background in drafting complex analysis and conducting investigative research ensures he will bring high degree of analytical precision and fiscal discipline to the board's deliberation for the zoning. A respected professional and public speaker, he has represented the CNMI at the National Legislative Summit and continues to lead vital community initiatives. For his part, Mr. Richard V. Salas is a highly accomplished environmental professional with over a decade of specialized experience in coastal resource management, regulatory compliance, and climate change planning within the CNMI. Currently serving as the project manager at Allied Pacific Environmental Consulting, he manages complex environmental projects and ensures rigorous adherence to regulatory standards. His distinguished public service career is anchored by his tenure as the Director of Division of Coastal Resource Management, where he oversaw the CNMI's Coastal Zone Management and Coral Reef Conservation Program. With a Bachelor's of Arts in Environmental Studies from Boise State University and proven track record as Coastal Resource Planner and Climate Change Project Coordinator, he combines deep technical expertise in wetlands and hazard analysis with executive leadership to protect and manage the Commonwealth's vital natural resources. Lastly, Mr. Stephen P. Sablon is a highly versatile and decorated professional with a legacy of leadership in banking, maritime, and federal government sectors within the CNMI. His qualifications include 18 years of banking expertise with emphasis on mortgage lending, consumer credit, and customer service. A dedicated leader and a communicator, he is known for maintaining a high standard in business operations and fostering engaged relationship with stakeholders through the use of modern technology. His extensive background in managing diverse teams and navigating complex financial environments makes him a highly capable addition to the board in zoning. Together, these three nominees provide a balanced expertise in finance, environmental policy, and executive leadership to support responsible development in the Commonwealth. We are certain they will bring the same dedication and excellence to the respective endeavor as board members. Again, Mr. Chair, for the JGO, we kindly ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Regis. And the podium is still open. All right, with nothing, yes, please proceed. I just press the button and if it...
There we go.
There you
Sorry
go.
about that. It's a pleasure to be here to speak with you and to support these nominations. I won't speak for reasons related to the fact that I'm an Assistant Attorney General. I just am speaking on behalf of the process. I'm thrilled that the appointments have come through so that we can get back to full strength as a board. It's been difficult to get a quorum, which has made the business slow down a bit. I won't speak about I'm sure you've heard enough about the quality of the candidates, but I'm just wanted to say thank you very much for your service today, and we're eager to get back to full strength. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you. Mr. Regis?
Mr. Chair, I apologize. I'd like to also acknowledge and support the mayor's nominee for the Shifa board, Mr. William T. Torres. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Regis. The podium is still open. To our prior speakers, you got everything down, right? You don't want to go up and clarify that? All right, with nothing further, we'll now proceed down to item number 3, the new business. And we would like to call up Mr. I'm not used to calling him William, but Mr. William Albert T. Torres up to our table up here, right here in the middle for interrogation. I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry, Speaker, just for the record, I didn't hear the last speaker. I did get his position on a professional level, but what was his name again for the record, please?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay,
Thank you.
John Fernori. Okay, thank you. All right, we are now under new business, and first on our list is from Mayor's Communication number 24-30 under the Saipan Northern Island Legislative Delegation for the appointment of Mr. William Albert T. Torres to serve on the Saipan Higher Education Financial Assistance Board, or SHEFA. And I now open the floor for any questions or comments. Before we proceed with the questions, Mr. Torres, I'd like to give you the floor for any opening statements that you would like to make.
Thank you, Chairman. Hafade Antiro, Chairman Villagomez, Vice Chairman Castro, and the honorable members of the SNILD JGO Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. I also want to express my gratitude to the Office of the Mayor of Saipan and Mayor R.B. Camacho for nominating me to serve on the Saipan Higher Education Financial Assistance Board of Directors. My name is William Albert Tenorio Torres, and I am here because I am deeply committed to the educational and workforce advancement of our island community. I bring a unique perspective to this nomination because my own educational journey reflects the diverse paths our students take today. I am a proud product of both a traditional four-year institution and a vocational trade school, holding a Bachelor of Arts in Historical and Political Studies from Chaminade University and an Associate of Applied Science in Automotive Technology from Wyotech. Because of this background, I intimately understand that whether a student is pursuing a university degree or a specialized trade certification, financial assistance is often the crucial bridge between their ambition and their success. As a past recipient of SHEFA assistance during my own post-secondary studies abroad, I have directly benefited from this program, and I know firsthand how critical it is to bridge the financial gap for our students. Because of this personal connection, I understand why strong and rigorous oversight is necessary to manage these funds effectively and ensure the program remains sustainable for future generations. Throughout my career, I have dedicated my professional life to public service, specifically in the past 7 years, bolstering our local educational institutions and workforce development. I spent over 4 years as a grants coordinator at NMC, and I currently serve as a grants administrator for NMTI. Working on the ground at both institutions has given me the comprehensive understanding of what our students, our faculty, and administrators need to succeed. Furthermore, serving on the SHEFA board demands rigorous financial stewardship to ensure public funds are managed effectively and responsibly. I bring extensive experience in full grant lifecycle management, budgetary compliance, and fiduciary oversight, having helped secure and steward tens of millions of dollars in educational funding. In prior leadership roles, I was regularly entrusted with high-stakes decision-making for critical strategic planning and implementation, and I am fully prepared to apply that same compliance-focused and strategy-driven perspective to strengthen the SHEFA program. I intend to help improve things that need improvement and help strengthen the concepts that are already effective. Beyond my daily work, my dedication to our community extends to my service as a board member for Thought Seat at Table and as a graduate of the Executive Leadership Development Program. It is no secret that our islands face persistent social and economic challenges rooted in gaps in education and workforce development. Education and skill development are the foundation of our thriving economy, and I think we all here can agree to that statement. While we have a long way to go, we must set bold yet attainable goals and collaborate to build sustainable programs that remain adaptable to the ever-changing environment beyond our tiny islands. If confirmed by this legislative body, I pledge to bring my comprehensive perspective on traditional higher education and technical trades and financial accountability to the SHEFA board. I want to ensure every eligible student from Saipan has the support they need to achieve their educational goals, and that students eventually return to strengthen our local workforce. I thank you for your time and your service to our Commonwealth and your consideration of my nomination, and I welcome any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. I now open the floor to the members, including Representative Joel, should he have any questions. Floor is open. Floor Leader Flores.
I'm ashamed to ask my questions because Attorney San Nichols said you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So I listened twice, and so now I'm just going to ask a question, Mr. Torres, because if we don't, then we are also not doing our due diligence and our oath to participate in this type of committee, and the purpose of why you're here now, based on the laws and the Constitution. So you have a very got a wealth of knowledge, both in your personal capacity as a businessman, grant writer, and also as a public servant in your field and your employment right now at the Northern Marianas Technical Institute. I'm a firm believer that we strike a balance, and there should be a balance between post-secondary education and trade. I believe that we have neglected the trade side and concentrated on post-secondary, which is fine. It might have been the need back 20 years ago, but we see a shift now, and it's not just for the Commonwealth, but it applies throughout the nation, that there is a shortage of trade experts. So how would you balance the funding for scholarships under the SHEFA board to balance this need for tech support and post-secondary support for these individuals? And how will you convey that as a board member to the team that you'll be managing to kind of get everybody on board, the students who wish to take on either trade or post-secondary? How will you complement that, given your capacity as an expert in your field?
Thank you, Representative Flores, for that question. I think it's a very good question, and I think it's very relevant to our very, very unique situation now. And I think that demands are always in flux, but at the end of the day, we do see a need for more trades, laborers, skilled workforce, right? However, I think we need to continue to work collaboratively with PSS, because at the end of the day, it's the future students, even the current workforce. They can opt to, quit their jobs today and go get some training in the trades and make a shift towards that industry. But in my opinion, I think there needs to be a lot more outreach in the high schools, because, I think conventional wisdom would be to go out and get a post-secondary education or a college degree, which is undoubtedly very important. And if you have the resources and the time, I would get both, right? Learning a trade or a few trades and and having that educational background, especially in business management, English, that is very important. In terms of how I would help shift, I would definitely have a lot of things to consider. Working with perhaps working with the State Workforce Development Board and identifying whether or not we have, even the capacity to provide that training. Because at the moment, NMTI is in the process of really, really bolstering our programs. And it's kind of evident in our efforts to build a brand new campus, because at the moment where we're at is just not going to cut it, right? So thanks to our efforts now, obviously, and also the previous NMTI administration, they were able to secure federal assistance to build a brand new campus, and that is a huge step in the right direction. And it's just a matter of getting the students in the door, providing the training that they need, and turning that over into well-paid jobs and making an impact in our community. And inevitably, making a dent in replacing foreign workforce, because it's going to be a huge undertaking to completely replace CW1. But in terms of, I guess, I'm alluding to that, yeah, I would, there's a lot of data to consider. I think there's a lot of collaborative efforts that have yet to be even identified. And, and I see it every day. I see it literally every day. NMTI, NMC, even Island Trading Solutions, and PSS were working together, especially with Department of Labor. Working very well. It is literally a well-oiled machine when it comes to working collaboratively, and there's still a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of concepts that we have yet to really visit and revisit and implement, especially when it comes to construction. There's a lot of things to consider. But yeah, I hope that kind of helps.
It does, and I guess, right, I like the fact that we are now still continuing to bring young blood into this design of the Commonwealth. I think it's very important. Although I'm not taking anything away from our founding fathers, but times have changed, approaches, and I guess the ability to adapt and improve should always be constant. It should never be stagnant. And I think for a long time we've been very complacent. And I like that, just hearing the tone on your voice, you are very determined to improve this area as far as getting our students out into the workforce, job readiness, post-secondary interest, if that's what they want. If there was anything that you would, if there was anything that you can change and improve on in your capacity, should this body approve you to sit as a SHEFA board member, what would that be?
Do you mean change within the SHEFA, or just change in?
The whole system. So the SHEFA, you have a board who's responsible for the fiscal management of scholarships within the 3rd Senatorial District. And then you have the students and the adults that it serves. If there's anything in the system that you see could be improved on, could be changed, is there any, I guess, that's my question, given your
Honestly,
your knowledge.
I wouldn't think it'd be fair for me to say that anything needs to be changed. As I stated in my opening remarks, I intend to help, improve things that need improvement. And if that in fact change, then so be it. But I think that the program has been working very effectively over the last, I actually don't know when the inception of the SHEFA program was, but I know that when I was going to school, it was, it was very, I think it was a very good program. So I think maybe I do think one thing that could be highlighted is perhaps alternative funding sources. That's always a big plus, right? Since there's always a financial constraints within the with government budgeting and spending. So, but undeniably, investing in education and workforce development is, I'm always gonna champion that. So I hope to use my capacity and my role as a as a board member to help foster that.
One last question. So we're having a really hard time, and it really breaks my heart when we're able to connect with scholars from overseas that want to come home, but they can't because of either no job opportunity, minimum wage, favoritism, nepotism, you name it, right? So how do you think you can offer or have a balance to that? Is there another way besides having these students, if we can't fill the position because we're restricted and we can't afford it, do you feel there's another way for these students who are abroad that need to pay back this monies that have been given to them and appropriated to them? Do you feel that there's another way for them to participate in this area as opposed to coming back? Because I noticed that you're a grant writer too. Do you think grant writing is another way where we can integrate this type of service? Because you also talked about alternative funding sources. And rather than use and really just concentrate on OGM, who's bombarded with all kinds of stuff, do you think that maybe we can consider something like that and take a look at that? Because I would love for these students, if they can't come back, write a grant to help some way bring down what they need to pay back in terms of like an attorney billable hours, right? It took this person 1,500 hours to apply for one grant, and we compare that to the minimum wage, and they can bring them back. Obviously, they're still contributing to the design of this Commonwealth, this workforce, this infrastructure need, this development. And I think that's just where I'm at. Can you maybe think about that as a means of offering another source of employment to pay it back? I don't know. It seems you're very smart at what you do. You're a businessman, you're a teacher, you're a mentor. So I have full faith, confidence that you could assist in those endeavors. And you don't have to answer that question. I think this is something that I've been trying to push to get our students who are left abroad that want to come back but can't seem to come back for whatever purpose and whatever reason. But grant writing and digital nomads are also another way for them to participate. So I hope that we approve your nomination. I think you'll be a great asset to the Sheffer Board, and congratulations on the nomination, Mr. Torres.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Floor Leader. Before we proceed to the next question or comment, I'd like to ask our LA to let the record reflect that Representative Vincent S. Aldan is now present in today's committee meeting. Thank you, and we'll proceed. Vice Speaker.
Thank you. Well, good morning, Mr. Torres. First, I'd like to thank you for your willingness to serve on this board. I also do appreciate the fact that you do represent the trades now. We have, represented on this board. I don't have any questions, Mr. Speaker. His professional experience, educational background is very fitting for this position. I wish you luck, and again, thank you for volunteering your time, really, to serve on this board. I do have one question, and it may not be relevant to what you're here for, but when can we expect the Mafnas Juristus to open up? We need to sample that way.
Thank you for your question, sir.
Oh, and also let me just touch I know we had a previous session for the other board members. I think it was last week, no? We touched up on a lot of this AI, and my good colleague here I know will touch up on that as well. But also being the fact that you are representing NMTech, it would be nice to see you somehow, encourage a lot of our young students to veer into the trades. We need that. Financial situation right now is not that great. It's not where we want it to be. So, just ask that you maintain fairness and, equitable fairness for our students. Well, thank you again. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Representative Camacho. The floor is still open. Representative Vincent S. Aldan.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Torres, for being here. I know we've had in last time we met, we've had a lot of discussions about trades and the importance of trades, and I'm always gonna I don't care if the horse is dead, I'm gonna beat it again, So it's with this looming, CW workforce, with the federal government that's going to be drastically reduced, I as a as a product of the trades, it took me. It's might as well could have gone to college, because it took me over 4 years of schooling in the trades to understand the theory behind what we do out in the field. You know what I mean? And just those, those couple of years that we went to school, that doesn't mean you practically know everything, because there's no better teacher than experience, right? And that's what makes trades very difficult to understand, because you cannot master it unless you actually practice it. So you need years beyond schooling of hands-on field work, getting dirty, the blue collar work, right? And it's very sad to know the fact that our community was not pushed to that side, because we've always looked at the blue collar work as dirty work. Nobody wants to do it. You know what I mean? You should go to college. You should do this. You get a better life. But then they forgot to understand that sooner or later, that program will fall apart. You know what I mean? And especially today, when you're dealing with AI, that's going to be a very disruptive, system. And are we ready to absorb that? You know what I mean? If I'm running a business and I know that AI can take over, a certain task, I wouldn't need to hire an individual to do that task, because at the same time, I'm trying to cut my costs. And as and any business the government should also know, but I know they don't, right? That your payroll is your biggest expense. And so long as your payroll is your biggest expense, the price of your product would always be high to cover those expenses. But if you eliminate some of those expenses, you could price your goods and services, fairly, right? And when we do not have the skill set, and the workforce to take over, what's going to be opening up soon. I know people like ourselves that are in the trade, we're the one that's going to be, we're going to have a good problem, that we're going to have to turn away a lot of jobs, a lot of contracts, because we can't handle it. There's too many, And people cannot say that there is no job. There is jobs. It's just that you're not skilled to do it. And it takes years to develop that kind of skill. I didn't become, a master diesel engine technician or power plant operator or water management, all of that, overnight. I went 3 to 4 years of school, but it took me 15 years to get my credential. You know what I mean? And I make more money using that than if I was to get a college degree. And at the same time, I don't have, you know, 6-figure debt hanging over my head that's eating into the profit that I'll be making. You know what I mean? The math is not right. So the only way to make this math right is I hope and I pray that, you know, NM Tech, you know, really go balls to the wall on trying to promote the programs and getting our young kids, you know what I mean, to get into these programs and to other people to transition themselves. Because I'm pretty sure that the trades are going to be the one that's going to be making a lot of money. You know, while people in administrative jobs or tasks are going to be eliminated. And if they're not ready by then, you're going to lose out. You know, and it's going to be extremely hard to catch up. You know, so I commend you for taking this, you know, position. And I know sometimes it's a thankless job, you know, but I do thank you. You know what I mean? And I wish you all the best. And I'm pretty sure you'll get nominated. You know what I mean? And bless, you know. But rest assured that if ever NM Tech needs anything on our part, you know what I mean? You could always come and, you know, call my phone, knock on my door, whatever. I'll be there. You know, God bless the trades. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Aldan. Vice, would you like to say something?
Thank you, Chair. Just for the record, I was a former colleague with Mr. Torres. I know his capability very well. Very hard worker. A lot of the buildings that you see going up at the college, a lot of that was his work as well, and moving it forward. The question, I just want to focus more on the policy. I myself, I am also a product of the SHEFA grant. So thank you to the authors that created SHEFA, and thank you to the administrators, and thank you to the people at the CNMI for helping with my education. I did both career technical and academic, and if there's one thing that I would say that's really important is that we look at the data. And that's one thing I learned also, not necessarily attending NMC, but working at NMC, is data-driven decision-making for continuous quality improvement. And what we need to do is focus on what we can control and not so much on things beyond our control. So we know that the CW program is going to be expiring soon. So our policies, we can do it by law, or the board can start adapting it to reflect those changes, because 3 years is going to come by really quickly. Given like our economic situation, we're in a slump, slow growth. So these kind of challenges call for, you know, in terms of strategic planning, it calls for joint ventures, MOUs. When you don't have the cash flow, you have to partner with agencies, and that's why a lot of institutions end up having MOUs, is so that they can leverage each other's resource. We have Philippine Airlines that just came in. So what institutions can we partner with? And I know, speaking with former administrators for NMTI, there was an institution that they were planning on partnering with just because of costs. But you know, administrations change. So just back to the scholarships. We're talking about funding source, but we at the same time we may want to look into loan repayment and default, right? Because it's not fair that you know, our people that receive funding from SHEFA, and they had an MOU that they had to sign. Either you come back and serve in the CNMI or you repay it. it's not fair to those that are going in through the program right now, and they're seeing less funds, right? So even myself, when I was going to college, funding was way less than those that came before me. So that's one thing that I hope that the board will look into, and I noticed based on recent changes to the regulation, it's not just exclusive to regional accreditation. You do include career technical, such as NMTI. But I think we really need to look at, because there's a lot of things that can help our economy, and you being in that industry, starting your own business, like just pork, for example. I used that in one of the last sessions. We import a lot of meat from off island. How can we leverage that by, there's a lot of people that have the skill. Back several years ago, there was a plan in PSS to have different clusters. Like, let's say Cagman High School will be focused on business. Saipan Southern will be focused on music and arts and other things. But if you really look deep into this, there's certain skills that different families have. Let's say slaughtering a cow, slaughtering a pig. That's probably a lot more skills in the north side. But how can we monetize? So I see Precinct 1 is looking at me. It's like, not true. Precinct South Side has it too. But USDA programs that can teach our youth. Our delegation chair, John Paul, and I, we visited a school in Happy Valley, Oregon, that was a high school, but it had over 20 different career technical tracks. They even had a agriculture program that taught the high school kids animal science. It taught them about business, how to farm management and all of those things. So, there's certain programs that are saturated. Knowing that from working at the college, you can only have so many, there's only so many conservation jobs available in the CNMI. There's only so many education or teacher jobs that we can fill. So once we've saturated that market, we need to start looking at what programs are in need. Because if we don't really address the workforce issues, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, but the policies need to reflect this change that's happening, and so I hope that the board really looks at ways to accelerate workforce development beyond just your standard 4-year track. There's a lot of modular approaches out there. Even with, for example, solar, there's virtual, using, and PSS has started. I've seen the elementary schools, they're starting to use virtual classrooms just because they don't have the funds to build a full facility, but there's technology that you can leverage to at least give you a briefing so that you'll have better, so that's pretty much all I wanted to say. If we can focus on our policies to align with the challenges that we're facing before it's too late. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. With nothing further from the members, Mr. Torres, you're now excused, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, colleagues, we can now, are we all good with all the statements and the questions? And with that, I'd like to get a motion to recommend approval or confirmation of the nomination of Mr. William Albert T. Torres? Okay, there's a motion and it has been seconded. Any discussions? Ready? All in favor for the motion, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Nick, please, and Carrie, please get that committee report. And at least on the committee level, Mr. Torres, congratulations. We'd like to take just a quick break for just a photo op with Mr. Torres for the Shefa board, and any family, supporters, friends that like to join in the photo, please come up. Short recess. before we went on recess, the committee took a vote on Mr. William Albert T. Torres to serve on the SHEFA board and was approved, so a committee report will be forthcoming. We will now proceed down to the nominations and the renominations for the zoning board positions, and we would like to call all three nominees up into the panel. Please, Sergeant at Arms, please escort Mr. Salas, Mr. Sablan, and Mr. Nicholas up into the panel. Did I hear hot seat? All right, welcome. And before I open the floor to the members, just like Mr. Torres, I would like to give each of our nominees the opportunity to give an opening statement before we proceed. So, Mr. Salas, I'd like to start with you, sir.
Test. Hafaday, Speaker Villagomez, Chair, Senator Castro, and esteemed members of the Saipan and Northern Islands Legislative Delegation. I'm here today to express my sincere gratitude to Governor Apatang, Lieutenant Governor Mendiola, and of course, Congressman J.P. Sablan for entrusting me to serve on the CNMI Zoning Board. It is truly an honor and a humbling experience to be considered for this role, especially in our community where land, development, and our culture are so interconnected. I recognize the urgency and responsibility that comes with this role in not only upholding the zoning law, but also to ensure that the decisions are made in a fair and transparent manner. I know firsthand, as a former director of the Division of Coastal Resources Management, the complexities that come with trying to balance development and economic opportunity. And also, withholding environmental conservation. I intend to put those same skills to use on this board if nominated or if confirmed. I want to ensure that future projects serve in the best interest not only to our community, but also to ensure that we have economic prosperity for our generations to come. I also would like to congratulate Mr. San Nicolas on his appointment and Mr. Sablan on his reappointment. I also look forward to working with the members of the personnel of the zoning office to ensure that future zoning applications are reviewed in an impartial manner. Thank you, and Sidus Masi.
Thank you, Mr. Salas. Mr. Nicholas, you have the floor.
Hafaday, Tiro, Ali, and Mabuhay to the honorable members of the Saipan and Northern Islands Legislative Delegation, Standing Committee on Judiciary and Governmental Operations. For the record, my name is Cameron Elias Soblon Nicholas. I am a proud resident of the 3rd Senatorial District, currently living in Garapan. I am the son of Brian Sayers Nicholas and Victoria Soblon Nicholas, brother to Brian Jr. or BJ, Brandon and Efren, and husband to my wife Mikey Hiron Nicholas. First and foremost, I thank God for the opportunity to appear before you today as you consider our nominations to the Commonwealth Zoning Board. I also extend my sincere appreciation to the Honorable David M. Apatang, Governor of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, and the Honorable John Paul P. Sablan, Chairman of the Saipan and Northern Islands Legislative Delegation, for their confidence in nominating me. It is an honor and a responsibility I do not take lightly. I spent majority of my life on our beautiful island of Saipan. After graduating from Mount Carmel School in 2010, I attended the University of Hawaii at Manoa, where I earned a Bachelor's of Business Administration in Finance in May 2014. My time in Hawaii reinforced for me how precious our islands are. Like many residents of the Commonwealth, I am committed to seeing our communities thrive for both current and future generations. There is a significant potential for growth in the 3rd Senatorial District, and I want to contribute to a better tomorrow in any way I can. My experience with zoning began as a legislative assistant in the Legislative Bureau, where I drafted legislation to rezone parcels and to permit specific uses within zoning districts. I devoted many hours to legislative research and drafting on zoning matters. I later served as a special advisor to the Secretary of the Department of Lands and Natural Resources, where I gained experience with zoning issues related to wildlife and agriculture, and developed a stronger understanding of the executive branch processes. I was privileged to work alongside many dedicated public servants during that time. I currently serve as a fiscal analyst for the House of Representatives in the Legislative Bureau. Working on the financial side has shown me the economic challenges facing our businesses and communities, and it has strengthened my resolve to support policies that foster a more resilient and prosperous economy. If confirmed to the Commonwealth Zoning Board, I pledge to execute my duties with integrity, to work collaboratively with my fellow board members, and to carefully consider the impact of zoning decisions on our people and our environment. I respectfully ask for your confidence and favorable support for my nomination, as well as the nominations of these other gentlemen here, like Mr. Salas and Mr. Sablan. Si Zeus Mosi, Hiliso, Sulang, Salamat po, and thank you, honorable members of this august body.
Thank you, Tess. Thank you, Mr. Nicholas. Mr. Sablan, you now have the floor.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Chairman and Vice Chair Castro, and members of the committee. I don't know, can you hear me? I don't really want to go through too much here, other than I'd like to thank Governor Apateng and Lieutenant Governor Mendiola and Congressman J.P. Sablan for renominating me to serve on the board of zoning. There is important work that needs to get underway, and the sooner that we can get this done, as mentioned by the legal counsel for the board, we need to get our quorum together, and hopefully, should I pass the muster this morning, I'm ready to serve again in my role on that board. Other than that, I'd like to also thank Mr. Regis, who's not here anymore, but I think he eloquently put together my qualifications, and I'll go get a copy of that and probably incorporate that into my future resume. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sablan. And with that, I now open up the floor to the members of the committee for any questions, comments, or discussions. Floor is open. I recognize Representative Camacho.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Mr. Sablan, Mr. Nicholas, Mr. Salas. Thank you for your time and your willingness to serve on this board. And I say thank you, and that's not, I don't say that lightly. You guys all know that zoning board is one of the most unpopular boards, and you know, you can ask Mr. Sablan. There's a lot of frustration in the community, so I thank you for volunteering your time. I don't know how, before I begin, Cam, did you take leave today, this morning?
Yes, I did, sir.
He will be drafting this committee report. No, I'm just kidding.
And I said we're going to be checking on you too for non-fiscal questions. There is a lot of frustration with the zoning board or zoning office, and you know, even with that, I know there was some chatter not too long ago about, you know, talks about abolishing the zoning board. And if you ask me a year or two ago, I would almost agree. But the reality of it is we do need zoning. It's very important. Nobody wants a cannabis shop next to their home or a hollow block, you know, construction company next to their home. We need zoning. I only ask of you three and for the current board members to just really tackle this, you know, one at a time. I was speaking to some of my colleagues here during the recess. about the one-stop shop. Is it actually working? And I didn't know if it was. And according to some of them, it's not. And I only ask, again, of the board that, you know, just look into that. I'm sure there is a representative in at that office. It's, yeah, there's just so much frustration, but I do believe in the mission of this, of the zoning office, the zoning board for Saipan, right? I mean, this is specific to the third senatorial. I don't have any questions directly. I just wish you guys luck, and we're here. We're here for you. The delegation is here specifically, not specifically, but we created the zoning law, right? This delegation created a zoning law. So a lot of the complaints that come out from members or the public can be addressed in the zoning law. You enforce it. So I just have to say that. And again, thank you for your willingness to serve. You'll be hearing a lot from us later on. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Camacho. I now recognize Representative Marissa Flores.
I think, Chairman, if you could appease this body and maybe the general public, if the LA could pull out the zoning map, as some of my questions relate to the existing zoning map.
Okay. We'll go for a short recess and we'll allow the LA
Thank you.
to put that up. Short recess. to our meeting. Before we went on recess, Representative Marissa had the floor and requested for the zoning map to be displayed for her line of questioning and discussions. And so, Rep. Marissa Flores, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you to everyone here, those who have been nominated to serve, and a sitting member who is, or an expired member who has now been renominated. So thank you for taking or accepting the nomination and allowing yourselves to be placed in this position to receive our questions, just so that there's some activity and the public is also watching in, kind of listening to see your views on zoning, especially as Rep. Camacho mentioned. It's not a very liked agency right now, and I think a lot of it has to do with either many extremities. I'm not going to hone in on one, but our hope is that these concerns be addressed, and we know that the director looks to the board for a lot of this direction. So my question is on noise nuances, particularly on what the board has as commercial, residential, or mixed commercial, residential. And if you look, I'm going to focus on the Paseo, around that tourist district, because we have long-term residents that have been there a long time. But here's my question, and it's going to hone in on one particular resident, because since the 23rd legislature, we've been trying to get this fixed, either some direction from zoning board or someone that has the ability to make and help with this situation. A long-term resident owns a small parcel of land in a mixed-use district zone for both commercial and residential purposes. Surrounding businesses, mainly nightclubs, creates a persistent and significant sound nuance that affects the quality of life for that resident. How would you, as a zoning member, address this ongoing situation to balance the rights of the resident and the permitted commercial activities while remaining consistent with the CNMI zoning law of 2013 and protecting the public interest? Mr. Salas, we can start from you.
Thank you, Rep. Flores. I think, we'd have to engage with the resident, hear that person's concerns, and, identify the business that is being in question, and, work with the public, the general public that has the outstanding concern, along with the business, to find some common ground and work to some sort of agreement that doesn't necessarily, overstep the zoning law or the regulations, but also just find some commonality between, finding that balance between, and that's always going to be the challenge, right? We can preach about that, day and night, but that's the reality of what this office is about, right? And so that's one thing that I personally would strive to do.
Thank you, Mr. Sir Nichols.
Yeah, Nicholas.
Sorry, my bad. Sorry, Cam.
No problem. So I do agree with Mr. Salas's opinion. We do gotta find a common ground between both the business, because we need the business and we also need that resident. They both contribute to our senatorial district. So like Mr. Salas said, we need to find that common ground and, let them work out a deal and, maybe, come up with a resolve, both of them together, something that can benefit both sides.
Thank you.
For some reason, I don't think I'm coming through like Mr. Nicholas here. He's got a wonderful voice for this microphone. I'm kind of on the same page as my two nominees here, that we need to find a balance between business and the resident. Perhaps maybe if there's noise emanating from the businesses that surround this particular residence, we need to communicate with, they actually have a business license, they went through the process, and
and probably got the permit from zoning to go ahead and open up operations. However, we can, the zoning law is there, but it's also quite malleable so that we can maybe address some noise levels that we can communicate with the business, and I'm sure the business would be more than willing to abide, given the type of business that they have. Perhaps maybe ask them to bring down their noise to a certain level that is tolerable to the residents around them. These are things that we can address. However, you said that this has been a pending issue. I've actually not heard about it, even though I've spent 2 years on the board prior to the expiration of my term. But I am very willing and open to take a look at that and come up with a resolution within the short term, because I understand what would happen if this continues.
Right, and we use the word long-term because that actual individual's there before everything else was happening. There was a couple of hotels when that family was situated there. And that brings me to my next question. But before I go into my next question, those are the things, right, that we talk about here. And those are the issues that the residents, especially from my precinct, in Precinct 3, you've got a commercial mixed residential smack in the middle of a neighborhood. How do you base yourself on commercial residential, mixed commercial residential in the middle of a neighborhood? And then how do you measure who was there first? Was it the resident or was it the business when we were starting to build this tourist district, right? Or whatever business now we want to build within this particular zoned area. So those are the things that I'd like for you guys to have and really hone in on, because while they're saying zoning is the problem, you go to zoning, they say the mayor's the issue, then you go to the mayor and then you say, no, it's BCQ. Then when you go to BCQ, they say, no, it's CRM. I mean, these are the systems that you guys as board directors should take initiative and fix. I'm not sure why we have to continue to pass laws when your book is right here, which, as a matter of fact, modeled through the state of California, which makes no sense to me. We should have modeled from another area that is more conducive to who we are as a people and the land that surrounds us. Maybe like Hawaii would have been nice. But this, I ask, if you are to be nominated, go back and revisit this, please, because this is the biggest confusion. And there's nothing else I can do with this except hope that when you guys are confirmed, you take that challenge on and improve, because that's a big problem. Here's another problem, once again. Zone commercial residential, right in the smack of the middle, there's a residence surrounding it. When you do the background and research, it was a public access road long ago. I don't know, this came in 2013, but how do you come up with a map when you don't even know that there was a road there prior to this passage of this map? That's number one. And then you have now a school in the middle of a residential dead end. But we know that there was a road, and then right on the highway is a automotive tow truck, but parks their cars with the battery still in there, with everything leaking into the environment, and nobody wants to take a position to move the cars or rezone this person. Make that make sense to me, because how do I explain that to the resident? How did they even get zoned for approvals? My question. How did that happen? So which takes me to my next question, spot zoning, which is not clearly defined here, but we know it happens. And we're just gonna get really into it. I mean, please forgive me for my my tone, but I've been working and trying to fix this issue since the 23rd legislature. The constituents in my district complain every day about something that has to do with zoning. And I feel bad for Mr. Hubert because he has to work, he has to give you guys the recommendation and you guys have to meet. You control what happens, how he performs. And something's happening if he's unable to commit to his job and serve the people if the board cannot get it together. So if there's anyone I'm gonna blame here, it's gonna be the board. And sorry, Mr. Sablan, I know you've been sitting there for 2 years, but I hope that if you get approved, then you come in already mentoring these two because you've been there long enough. I don't think they need it, they're smart individuals, but what I appreciate is that they're young and they understand exactly what the issues that concern us, which are, we will be manomko now. But I'm pretty sure they're looking out for their kids and their kids' kids. This is much deeper than just business. This is about the sustainability of our families moving forward. And how do we do that? So here's a question. A rezoning request, which is usually given to us by a bill, we have to introduce a bill or somebody comes in here and says, I want a rezone, which is a spot zone. A rezoning request has strong support from elected officials, but applies to only one parcel owned by a politically connected individual. How do you evaluate this request to ensure it's meeting legal zoning standards rather than political influence? Mr. Salas.
Well, before I get into that question, I want to talk about what you were mentioning earlier about, the spot zoning and whatnot. And I think it's important to kind of realize, some of the importance and what the maps portray, right? As Senator Castro mentioned earlier about the importance of data-driven products, right? So, I'm certain, these maps can be updated on a more frequent basis. We'd have to obviously work with the zoning personnel, identify the resources, help them identify those opportunities so that we can work, even leverage other agencies that can that may have the data, that may not, but, just kind of leverage what information and data is already out there, and work to update, some of this so that at least the public would have a better understanding on why certain, spot zoning requests are being processed, why certain variances are being processed, right? And then to go back to your question about, a politically connected individual, obviously that's as a member of the board, we want to uphold the integrity of what this board is and uphold the rules and regulations. So if it doesn't comply with what the language states, that's just going to have to be the case.
And Mr. Salas, you'll stand firm on that affirmation?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so based on my experience when I was a legislative assistant, or at least the way I understand the zoning board, is, a lot of these requests need to go through the board, and then the board is supposed to act, and then we're gonna make a recommendation to the legislature. At least I hope the person tries to go through the zoning board first, and expresses his or her willingness to do what they need or what their request is. Let them go through us. Let us be the ones to look at it and make an assessment. Maybe even hold a public hearing, so we can get the concerns of the surrounding residents, and with that, yeah, I just hope they go through us, go through the board, so that we can try and make that determination and hear from the surrounding residents, not just from that zone, the people surrounding that one zone, because of course, there's certain businesses you don't want affecting a village, right? Some people don't want to be next to a parlor, a poker parlor, some people don't want to be next to a bar. Let's have public hearings and hear from them, hear from the residents.
Thank you.
Again, I am excited for the board with the addition of the two young minds that are quite intelligent, I might say. Based on their comments, hopefully we all make it here through this gauntlet. However, going back to your concern, Congressman Flores, there have been denials whenever spot zoning is requested. That is against the law. And so what the zoning board and the administration usually try to do is find a happy medium, wherein because we can't zone a particular lot. We try to find out if the lots that surround this particular area are conducive to what needs to happen. I think in answer also to one of your concerns regarding this resident in the tourist district, I think a lot of these establishments came in, and I don't want to make an excuse, but perhaps zoning was not in existence at the time. And so zoning now is having to deal with a lot of these, a lot of this imbalance, I would say. Again, like both of my fellow nominees here, they're looking at the balance between, the business, and because that's revenue generating, and we don't really want to say no, but we also need to be fair to the residents of Saipan and make sure that there is a symbiosis of business and residents. And again, going back to spot zoning, it is against the law. So we're very cognizant of that. Thank you.
Thank you, and that's great to know, and again, gives me some hope, right? And so let's go back, because circle back, because you mentioned about past actions and behaviors that obviously has had a huge effect on, let's just say, my precinct 3, right? And it's up to the board really to determine a yes or a no, which the director now must comply. Whether he agrees with you guys or not, the board controls what he does, okay? You're his boss, basically, in a sense. So I'm gonna talk about now this casino that sits in my district that I've been trying to address for a long time. I'm gonna ask one question first, and then I think I'll follow up. Mr. Salas, you see the casino, unfinished casino building that sits in the tourist district. We know that zoning can have some authority as to having them, clean up or whatever, work with other agencies. But if the scenario was presented again, and you're looking at something as can't even find the right word for that building, honestly. Something as big and it's just too much for this island, to be honest. And they request from you and present themselves. They want to go higher than 4 stories in a district that maybe isn't conducive for that type of resort. Will you stand firm that you would advocate for and more of the protections of the community, or would you feel that a balance is still needed because we have new investment?
Test. Thank you, Congresswoman. As far as, the opportunity to, find the next best thing, I think it's important that we still uphold what is the rule of law and the regulations that the zoning office is empowered to do, right? So I know for a fact that in the zoning regulations there are, there's language about view sheds and whatnot, but it's also in other respective offices. So it's important that we not only focus on that, but we also consider some of the other rules and regulations that uphold or that have to have some language pertaining to that requirements. So balance the public's interest, but also uphold numerous requirements.
Thank you, Kim.
So yes, I also, Mr. Salas, thank you for speaking before me. He makes a lot of good points, Yeah, we're gonna need to consider we really do need to consider the public's interest because sometimes they don't always align with the commercial activity that may be taking place, but yes, like Mr. Salas said, you know, a balance still needs to less balance needs to happen between both, you know, there.
Can you repeat your question? I'm sorry, yeah, I just zoning out here. No pun
No pun
intended.
intended. So we have an existing building, right? This casino. And the zoning says nothing higher than 4 stories. Okay? Must have zoning approval, right? I don't know how that happened. But I guess my question is, will you affirm as a board member that you can strike that balance between new investment and still protecting the interest of the public?
So we're talking about a building that is existing already, correct?
No, we're talking about future.
Oh, if it's 4 stories and they want to go higher than 4, to tell the truth, I thought there was a law that you couldn't build above a coconut tree.
Apparently, you need zoning, the board to approve that.
I'm not sure if that's still in our regs, but balance is about
Okay.
everything. It's quality of life,
Right.
really. And if that's not going to, if it's going to lend a negative, I would be adamant about allowing something to go that far.
Okay.
Again, you need to take a look at the big picture and see if this development is you know, aiding in everyone's quality of life
Okay.
being improved. And if not, then it doesn't go. We have the ability to say no, and in my term, we have said no on numerous occasions.
Wonderful. And that's good. That's good news, because we know that you guys are actively looking and trying to strike a balance between new investment, old investment, but still hold up the integrity and the dignity of the residents as they commingle with each other for, you know, the purpose of improving the CNMI as a whole. Actually, not the CNMI, but Saipan as a whole, because there's no zoning in Road Antinian. So my last question before I yield. Land is very scarce when you're looking at this map, and you can see there's a lot going on the along the beach area, which is of high real estate value, and then you've got all of these other spots which are within the villages, and then I don't see, there's no mountains here anywhere, but we know that from the west to the east there's mountains, and we know that we have investors now that want to use these types of landscapes to build. But because there are existing resident areas who are above, right? And then you have someone that wants to now open or build a condo on a private compound, right? Private area in the back, someone leased over here, and now they want to just build upwards. How would you balance that now? Because then you are now, once again, here's the scenario. You're using the mountain to build a condo, whatever. For all we know, it might be Section 8. Don't know. But you have people in the back who've been sitting there, who've been just enjoying their view, looking out into the ocean, and just been living happily ever after, not bothering anybody, and enjoying the luxury of their land. But now you go and you see there's some kind of activity happening, and it might be done, it might be future, and there might now be a condo that's 4 stories high. I don't know how they got a clearance for that, but if the time comes up and we have the residents, any resident that now would like to oppose this new type of building to be erected in front of to obstruct their view, how would you guys balance that now?
May I answer that first, Congresswoman? Since I've experienced this, part of the process of hearing a permit application is that the applicant must do their assignment to go out into an area designated by law to gather signatures from the residents or landowners acknowledging that they are aware of a particular permit hearing and they are welcome to come and state their case. And there are times when we have to, we don't make the decision right away because we do need to kind of take into account and calculate, what are the ramifications of our decisions. And so that process is in play. If we need to revisit a particular application because it's just not jiving with what we feel is proper and for the good of the community or the surrounding area, we will go back and grind that out again. And so that I know we have done before. Again, we do have on occasion said no.
And that's good, because then I'm pretty sure Rep. Cobre is going to tie in how infrastructure is going to affect zoning permits in particular areas such as commercial mixed residential, right? That's really where he is. I'm all about having peace and harmony with investment and residents, because I see this disparity within my own village. And it's either we need to figure out, as you guys need to figure out as a board, to either revisit, reimagine what this looks like, because I can drive a mile and I'm like, wow, that's a nice house. And then all of a sudden I see a garment factory right smack in the middle of somewhere, right? And that's an injustice to a lot of us who are now inheriting this problem. Maybe we didn't think about that before, but now you're going to be in a position to think forward. And I cannot underscore how excited I am to see some new blood, some young blood, to offer their advice to us and to Mr. Sablan, because, we will be Manamco shortly. I'm hoping sooner than later, because I want the Manamco card for 5% discount at Joten. But again, I'm not going to have you guys answer that. I think the renomination of Mr. Sablan gave me some insight. And please make sure that moving forward, Mr. Sablan, since you have some knowledge on this particular scenario, really hone in on this. But my gosh, I think a lot of it you need to revisit, reimagine, and rezone and reconvene. No? How do you see our senatorial district in the next 10 years, looking at what this has established? Was it good? Was it bad? And what can we do better? So at this time, Mr. Chairman, I yield my time.
Thank you, Representative Flores. I now recognize the Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I just want to thank the three of you for committing to the zoning process. As the author of a Senate bill that intended to suspend zoning for 5 years, I still stand behind that. And the reason why is because what's written in law and some of the regulations that was put in place are in conflict. And so it doesn't have to be 5 years. The Senate bill that I introduced, again, some people misinterpret it as abolishing zoning, which is not what I support. I support looking at the research. A lot of jurisdictions have moved away from the process that we have and are looking at form-based zoning. So it's more about the process. And I'm going to explain, when I was a director at NMC, I started in 2009. Everything was still carbon copy. It was still arena style. It was manual. Someone was even reported missing trying to register at NMC because the parents didn't see them for 3 days. That is a true story. Recently, there was a one-stop process that was brought up to the old Medicaid office, and from the surface it looks like it's better. But if businesses still have to wait several days before getting their, what they need. It's just like back at NMC when I was the admissions director, and the admissions acceptance letter was, the staff would say, 3 to 5 days. My instruction to the staff is, we don't have to wait 3 to 5 days. If all the information is there and you have everything that you need, and we can get that letter out today, then let's get it out. Because what happens, which is not exclusive to zoning, it's a lot of government agencies have the same process. It's 3 to 5 days, and they would wait to the 5th day, sometimes even past the 5th day. So the process needs to be looked at, right? And common sense at the same time. When federal funds was awarded to Hopwood, and zoning required Hopwood to go through the vendor to go through the zoning process, I was like, that's within the board's, authority. Hopwood was there before the zoning law even was created. And I don't know why it was zoned as a tourist resort area when it was already a school, established school. And the issue I have is, if we're gonna throw in our process there and, risk millions of dollars in federal funding, I think we need to look at the bigger picture of things. I did mention public law, but at the same time, our covenant, our constitution. I'm also the author of a Senate legislative initiative to increase, land lease terms from 55 to 99. I didn't do that, and I'm not the first one to try and do that. There's several senators that tried to do that. The Republic of Palau already did that. It's public law. 99 years in Palau, and they believe in, their people owning the land. So, when we take regulations from other jurisdictions, we also have to keep in mind the covenant. Like, the covenant should be the main that we also look at, because the true owners of the land it's not the government. It's our NMDs. So as we, by the way, a lot of businesses that I've reached out to have said the process has improved in the last year. So I wanted to give props to the current members and future board members. Something's going on right. But at the same time, we really need to look at the regulations, because we don't want to start introducing laws to solve issues that the board already has the authority to do, right? I had a conversation with Acting Administrator Hubert not too long ago about, there's a lot of businesses like stores complaining that there's a requirement to put a flower bed in front of the entrance of the store or on the parking lot. That's not going to work for a lot of businesses. That will not work for, let's say, like a business in CK, which, it was built before the road expanded. But at the same time, we have to make sure that our regulations are not draconian, meaning they don't overreach into what is really the rights of the private landowner or the rights of the business. So if you put a flower bed right in front of the entrance of a store, now you're also affecting sales, because maybe Nandenang was like, I'm not gonna go to that store, I'm gonna go to Joten because they have more parking. It's harder for me to back up, and that's a DPW thing. That's a right of way, situation. So. Rep Marissa brought in like a good example of, and I know whose house that is because that's my relative, and that is true. Just like my family property in Aslito, the farm was there before the commercial building across. So you're not gonna tell me not, I cannot have my pick fence there because because you don't feel. We have to think of those things historically, and take that into account at the same time, right? But things like blueprints and those kind of requirements, we all need to work together, but we all need to make sure that, so with the example that Marissa brought out, that's a DPW issue. Senator Corina recently introduced a drunken disorderly law, which they had back in the trust territory era, but for some reason, drinking in public places didn't carry over when we became a Commonwealth, because it's done everywhere. A lot of our public parks, people are drinking and getting intoxicated, and that's something that we need to look into. Now even drugs are involved. You have people doing ice at pavilions. I'm not gonna say which precinct, but that affects tourism, that affects our economy, that affects our family values, and so it's not just zoning, but we need to synergize. So the example that in regards to that one resident in Garapan is that's a DPW thing. That is also mainly a drunken disorderly, especially. DPS. Sorry, thank you, Chair. But it all comes down to process and really looking at the system as a whole, because it's designed to be synergized and work. But we really need to. Sometimes when we're in one agency, we tend to only see one silo, but we need to get out of that silo and look at it from the full. And I know you all are very capable of doing that. Just maybe sometimes because I've seen what was discussed earlier. Like 2 years ago, I saw some of those legislations come through when I was in the House, and is it right? I don't think that people should be coming to the legislature to change the law so that their business can. That's why zoning exists. That's why different agencies exist. But at the same time, our agencies, we need to continually look at the issues at hand and at the same time synergize as much as possible. Thank you all for your service.
Thank you, Vice Representative Flores.
Sorry, I just have to put this on the record, and I know Vice Chairman was talking about drunken disorderly, but that's not what I meant. What I meant was the noise control from the existing bars, which we need. But when you have an open balcony and an open space, and the noise is coming out this way, that's not drunken disorderly. Somebody got a clearance to design an existing establishment without the proper guidance. And zoning wasn't there because zoning should have been there to begin with. It's noise pollution is what I was talking about, to protect the integrity of all the other residents, because zoning is mixed commercial residential in that area. Has nothing to do with drunken, that's another factor. But sorry, Chairman, Vice Chair, but that's not what I meant. What I meant was within your purview as a zoning board and an agency. Thank you. I just had to put that on the record before I look like I didn't know what I was talking about.
Thank you, Representative Flores. Vice?
Sorry, I also forgot the disturbing the peace law, which is also DPS. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice. Any further? The floor is still open. All right, with nothing further, I just want to say thank you. I know we've gone through some technical difficulties with I don't know why I say technical difficulties, but technical issues with the law, and it went from the governor's office nominating you three to him having to withdraw due to technical issues with the law, which then fell on Chairman John Paul Sablan to take on the task of nominating. And I just want to thank you all for still stepping up and accepting the nominations. I've gone through the documents, I've seen the support letters, and I've known all three of you, and I feel that you are qualified. And like the Assistant Attorney General said, it's a lot of work that needs to be done. You've heard the concerns of my colleagues here, and I'm sure you hear the concerns of the public. Please take those into consideration. The board, the zoning office also has the tools to bring the community together, again, like you all said, to find that balance. Of course, we do need the businesses, but we also need our residents. So thank you all. It's like the Vice Speaker said, it's probably the least fun board to be on, but then again, you know, we can all rise from the challenge, from the challenges, and I thank you all for stepping up to accepting these challenges. So with nothing further, you are all dismissed, and we'll go ahead, committee. With no further discussions, I would like to request for a motion. We'll go through each nomination for each individual committee report, and I'd like to start with the renomination of Mr. Cameron Sablan Nicholas. Can I get a motion for the recommendation for approval?
So move.
Okay, a motion has been made and has been seconded. Any discussions? Ready? All in favor for the motion, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Thank you. We'll now move down to the nomination of Mr. Richard Villagomez Salas. Can I get a motion? Okay, there's been a motion and it has been seconded. Any discussions? Ready? All in favor for the motion, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. And lastly, for the renomination of Mr. Stephen P. Sablan, can I get a motion for approval and recommendation of confirmation? There's been a motion and it has been seconded. Any discussions? Ready? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Congratulations to all our nominees. I'd now like to take a quick recess for a photo op, and please, family members, friends, and supporters, please join us up here in the panel. Thank you. Short recess. Our meeting. Before we went on recess, we just, we've passed, we've recommended approval to the SNILD body for the confirmation of the appointment, the appointees and the nominees. And now we're back and we're going down to item number 4 of our agenda, miscellaneous. Is there anything under miscellaneous? The floor is open. Ready? Okay, we'll now move down to adjournment. Can I get a motion for adjournment? Okay, a motion has been offered and seconded. Any discussions? Ready? All in favor for the motion, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. This meeting's hereby adjourned. Thank you, everyone.